All right, guys, so let's talk about the future of Standoff 2. This is a video that I delayed making for a little bit because I wanted to see how things kind of played out and let some more information be revealed before I fully kind of took my stance on some of these things. But as you guys know, we've gotten some sneak peeks on the remastered version of Standoff 2. It's coming hopefully in 2026, and some of the big features that they've talked about in this sort of newer version of the game where it's not just an update, it's not just a patch, it's quite literally a rebuild and a remastering of the entire game. And I think that's honestly what Standoff 2 really needs right now. And some of the big key points that they've talked about in regards to this update is the UI is going to change. Character posture will change. Yeah, that's great. We don't need any slouched out shrimps running around with guns. That's fine. Gameplay mechanics, biggest one being somehow, whether it be server or client side hosting, something like that. I'm not sure fully how the coding and development side or hosting side of running, online servers works, but basically they're trying to fix the ping issue, which I think is super important. That definitely isolates a lot of players that just don't have either a super low ping, which is a huge issue, and the biggest advantage in Standoff 2 right now, like the meta is literally just like have a good device and have low ping, and the game will basically play itself at that point. So trying to fix that I think is huge. I think at least in recent times, like they haven't quite fully fixed the hacking issue. There's still a lot of hackers in the game. I have gameplay recording of videos that got kind of ruined because of hackers and stuff like that. So while I don't think they've addressed the root cause and stopped hacking from happening, they have at least made attempts or made effort to mitigate match results, cancel matchmaking, give people their MMR back, which doesn't do anything about the experience of the game. They've also made posts in Discord and on some of their socials recently, making it a lot easier and also a lot clearer for players on how to report hacking. A lot of times, if you're just in game and you have a screen recording, you get the match ID and the player ID that's hacking and just send that in via support ticket. Like they've made that process a lot easier, and it does look like they take action on that. I played with a hacker literally a day ago and went through the entire process, and like within a couple hours the match was canceled, the MMR was returned, and the evidence that I submitted had gotten viewed. So they have done a decent job at least allowing players to feel like they're doing something or making an impact by getting hackers banned by reporting them. So that process is working, but they really do need to come up with a front end solution where it stops the hacking from happening in the first place. I know that every esport, every video game kind of struggles with this. And I mean, if we just keep it real here, if we're looking at CS2 as kind of the grandfather or like the big brother to this game, like, and what it's taken a lot of its inspiration from and is basically the mobile version of. I mean, CS2 has its own hacking problems as well. So any competitive FPS or even just in other games as well, hacking is an issue. So not quite sure what the best route or what needs to be done from like a dev perspective to fix that, or if it's even possible to fully eliminate it without some kind of like privacy or intrusive software that also gets put on your devices, which I don't think people want either. So hacking is kind of a tricky one. As far as other stuff that they've mentioned about the remastered version, cosmetic changes, being able to change player skins or like avatars, that's kind of cool, but at the same time, like it's just another monetization method. It's just another way to print money. I don't think that people really care about that. And honestly, like, yeah, I enjoy skins too. I understand that it's a core piece of the game and it really does make the experience a little better. But at the end of the day, like I think the people that are left, like the Standoff 2 community on YouTube and content wise is very, very small, at least in English or non Russian speaking communities, very small. The amount of creators that are out there are pretty small. So it's like the general feedback from these people that I've had in, Discord, comment sections of videos, speaking with other content creators, stuff like that. Like, I've watched people come and go and leave this scene just because of the gameplay experience, and it's bad, bro. And the players that have been here are gonna stay and have been here for a long time, but everyone's kind of at that point where it's like, dude, we just want the game to work. We want it to be fun. We want to see effort being put into making it better. And I do think that this update, this remastering update has come like a little too late. I mean, even just in my experience playing this game for 2 to 3 years, I've seen and felt the player base get smaller. And I did a little bit of research. I tried really hard to find data that has been published as far as the active users on Standoff 2, and couldn't really find any super accurate data. And we'll get into this in a little second when it comes to like advertising and stuff like that, because those two things are pretty closely linked. So there's that. But overall, like, I think the remastered update needs to happen, and it needs to happen as soon as possible, because players every single day are just getting fed up with this game not being good. And also, like, you can see my kind of talking points here. We've covered sort of the big things as it comes to the remastered update, but these are the things that I really want to talk about in this video and how it pertains to like the future of the game. Because if Standoff 2 cares and they can nail all of these things, I think the game will be successful. If not, then I think that we'll see a continuation of what we've been experiencing so far, which is basically like they will continue to print money via skins, battle passes, and exclusive items, stuff like that. They'll just milk the cow until there's nothing left, and that's unfortunate. But I think that my perspective coming at this from being a business owner myself, like, I understand monetization vehicles. I understand that if you look at this video game as a business from that perspective, like, there are certain things that need to happen. Is upgrading servers and hosting and all that stuff expensive? Hell yeah. Is hiring a full dev team to like fix the game and be working on stuff 24/7? Absolutely. Like, for all of these things to happen, there needs to be money deployed to actually manifest those things, right? So I understand that the monetization is important. However, with that being said, we can talk about that a little bit. So previously, there's always been the ability to buy gold or cases. Opening cases is obviously probably the biggest monetization vehicle. Most recently, probably battle passes as well. But as far as like money that just goes into the Standoff 2 / Axle Bolt ecosystem and doesn't leave, like, cases are the biggest example of that. Money is spent to buy gold. That gold is used to open a case, and you're getting like, you're spending 100 gold to open the case and getting an item that's worth 0.0 or less than 1 most of the times. So as far as money that's like entering the game and that stays there, that's a big piece of it. The battle pass too, like, that's just giving you access to get the items. The items themselves are oftentimes worth a little bit less, and that's something that has changed. And this is where we can kind of link the two things between investing and monetization. But to just round off the point on monetization, I think that Standoff 2 has made a good business practice, but not necessarily what's best for players. So as of recently, like, there's been a couple things that have happened. One is the odds of getting rare items from cases has been significantly reduced, which I think is good for stabilizing the economy of the game and the marketplace. Like, generally, people more and more are starting to look at Standoff 2 skins and items as investments. And I think that has a trickle down effect from CS2. People like OniPixel, all the skin trading, all the stuff like that is really what props up these games at its core. I won't even go into like the gambling mechanics and all the other stuff of kind of like the things that I'm not so fond of with games like this, but the truth is, like, a lot of people buy these items thinking they're investments, or they try to spend a little bit of gold to get an item and hope that it goes up over time. There's a lot of things. I could go down the entire rabbit hole when it comes to investing, but we'll just keep it tame and keep it on the topic of like this update. And yeah, the biggest change being, in the past, typically after a battle pass or a season or a collection was removed from the active pool, or whatever, if you want to call it that, the items being dropped, or when a collection was first put on the marketplace, generally speaking, the cases would be medium to low price, and the top items that everybody wanted, even if it was a desirable skin, like a knife or AK or AWM. Like these items would be like a couple thousand gold. And what we've seen in the most recent updates with Syndicate, now that these items are on the marketplace, like dude, the AWM Moonstone going for like 20K, the Stat Track Orchid AKR going for like 13, like 10K gold plus pretty consistently. The Moonstone Bayonet being like above 5K. Like the prices of these items is going up, which you can see that as a good thing or a bad thing. For me, as someone that does invest, if you want to call it that, like, dude, it's just speculation. And most of the time I'm buying skins. I view it as like a mini game inside of Standoff too, right? Like, can I take this gold and turn it into more? But yeah, from someone that does have like money invested in the game and someone that does look at investing as like a mini game, I don't take it too seriously, but I do just like stay up to date and pay attention to the kind of stuff. But they've made a lot of changes as far as the rarity of the skins, the pricing of the skins, and that has driven prices up, which is not inherently a bad thing. But when we talk about monetization, the biggest thing that Standoff 2 has realized is like the 80-20 rule. And anybody that has been in business, has a business, or knows anything about business will understand this. Basically, within any business, 80% of your revenue generally comes from the top 20% of your customers, right? So that's in principle the 80-20 rule. And Standoff 2 has realized this, and they've changed their monetization strategy. They've made things more expensive in the game on purpose because they know that there is 20% of the player base that has more money that will buy the expensive stuff, and they'll make more money selling expensive things to a smaller portion of the player base than they will selling, 1,000 gold battle pass, or if they have rare items like arcane red rarity items, knives and stuff like that sell for like a couple thousand gold. And if you think about this from their perspective, they benefit more because if the item prices continue to appreciate and they're already expensive to begin with, that means that more people have to buy more gold in order to buy those items. And the general rarity of them creates a little bit of demand, but also like just everything being more expensive benefits Axel Bolt, right? You spend more money on gold, they make more money because you want to get items that are more expensive than they used to be. And then also the buying, selling, trading, all of that stuff. The 20% market fee, they're taking a cut of that and removing gold from the ecosystem, if you will. It's getting burned, which keeps the prices stable or appreciating, hypothetically, right? So there's that. I do think that while it makes sense from a business perspective, I think the big concern here is that like people like skins, people want skins, and the average player is not going to be able to afford a lot of the really higher tier stuff, which again, maybe you see that as a good thing, maybe you see that as a bad thing. For me personally, like I just see it as they've isolated or they've priced out a lot of the average player that maybe doesn't want to spend a ton of money or comes from a country where it's financially not really accessible to them. So that's the only thing that I look at that as like a slight negative, where it's like I think the prices of items before were pretty reasonable, and now that they've tweaked the rarities and stuff for case openings, like it feels a little bit to me like the average player will get priced out of these things eventually. So that's my 2 cents on that. The pricing of some of the stuff just should be like, it feels a little out of touch. It feels a little out of touch to me to understand that you have a mobile game where a lot of your players are from outside of the United States, and with currency differences and stuff like that, like some of this stuff just is not going to be accessible to most people. Does that ruin the experience? I don't know, maybe, but generally speaking, I think that as a mobile game, I would, if it was my choice, maybe optimize like a little bit more for the average player. That's all. With that being said, investing has changed a lot. The prices of items have changed a lot. And there's not really a ton more to say other than like if I was Axel, I would maybe try to be a little conscious of their monetization models, because people will get fed up and frustrated with this. I'm fed up and frustrated with this, to be honest. The Dia de Muertos update felt like a money grab to me. Like the pricing of all the stuff, the items that are in the game that cost like 10,000 gold just to unlock it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. And like, call me a sucker because like I did buy the battle pass, I did buy some of the items and stuff like that, but that's because I have the money to do so, and it's like not a big deal for me. Like to spend $100 or whatever on a video game, like it's kind of stupid, and I know that, but it like doesn't affect my actual life. But for someone that really, really cares about the game and wants to play it and have the items that can't do that, like if the average person playing this game is like a 14-year-old Russian kid, like do they have 150 USD equivalent to spend to get these items that they want? I don't know, probably not. So that's interesting to me. And some of the stuff just feels like a complete money grab. I won't get into gambling and, you know, the case opening mechanics and stuff like that. That's a whole other can of worms. But yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that's just like the go-to monetization method for all of these games now. It's like loot boxes, cases, crates, all that stuff. Like I said, I don't want to get crazy deep into that, but as far as like the behavioral and cognitive impact that has on like young kids and stuff, I mean, I think we all pretty much know what that is and what's going on there. But yeah, it's not really my place to say or make decisions on that. I don't own the game. People are going to do what people do, and it's out of my control. So we'll leave that there. The next thing, like, dude, there needs to be peer-to-peer trading at this point. And I've made videos and on live streams and stuff in the past, I've been questioned about this. And the stance that I had previously was that I totally support and understand the decision Apple has made to keep peer-to-peer trading out of the equation because of the amount of scamming and just, you know, kind of protecting their player base to a degree where as soon as that becomes viable, as soon as peer-to-peer trading is a thing, it does allow for a couple things to happen. One, it gives skins potentially real world value or a way for players to actually exit the game. Like if there's a peer-to-peer trading system, hypothetically, you could cash out of your skins. And maybe Standoff 2 doesn't want you to do that because the way it currently is, the only, like once a skin is created or unboxed or whatever, it stays in the game forever. It can't leave. And if it wants to be moved around between accounts or between players, it basically has to be sold on the market, and Standoff will take their 20% market fee, eliminates some of the gold, preserves the value of the skin, and also anybody that wants to buy new stuff. It basically, Axel Bolt is profiting and making money, so to speak, on the purchasing of gold and the selling of skins in-game through the market. If peer-to-peer trading is introduced, obviously that opens up the possibility for people to have a like outside of the game arrangement where it's like, I will send you money on PayPal or crypto or whatever for a skin in game to be traded. So it opens up the possibility for real world value for skins, which I think is important. How that affects the economy in game, who knows? It'd still be kind of crazy. At the end of the day, Axel Bolt still gets their percentage of, you know, people buying gold to buy the skins in the first place. And I think it has overall a net benefit on the game itself, and maybe it just leads to a slight decrease in profit generated via gold purchases. But I actually think that certain stuff like that, like you want to defend against it if you're the business owner, if you're Axel Bolt, but at the same time, I think that having peer-to-peer trading in your game brings a whole new crowd of people to the game, and it giving skins the real world value like kind of blurs the line between it being like a game and then actually slightly more on the line of like potentially something you could quote unquote invest in or speculate. I wouldn't call it investing. I think that's a foolish word to use. We're talking about pixels on a screen here, but if you want to speculate on the price, it brings that crowd over to Standoff 2 as well, which I think is beneficial. And I mean, this is happening anyways. There are sites that you can go to buy gold. There are sites that you can go to sell items or sell accounts. So it's like Axel Bolt not having this feature, it's getting to the point now where it's just not necessarily helping or hurting, but it would be better, I think, with peer-to-peer trading. Another reason for this is the bot problem on the marketplace has gotten so insane, dude. Even on like the Syndicate update has been the worst one so far, where you have snipers or like some sort of account with scripts or automations that are running where it's like if you place an order, immediately after placing the order, a bot or someone's account will automatically place a 0.01 like bid above yours and then wait a couple seconds and then drop back. And there are even some items where you can test this and it'll literally go up like 2 or 3 times, which means there's multiple people, multiple accounts running this script on this item. And for me, like I have multiple accounts in the game, right? And so I try to trade my items between my accounts, and I've gotten countless items sniped by doing this. I don't really care, but at the end of the day, it's like if the goal of not having player to player trading was to eliminate scamming, then like what do you call people sniping items on the marketplace with bots and automations and scripts? And how is that not hacking? Right? Like at the end of the day, you have an automation that's running, you have some sort of third-party software, some script, some, line of code that's running that's telling all this stuff to happen, this bot. So it's like, where do you draw the line between we don't want player to player trading because people are getting scammed or people would get scammed, and it unlocks sort of this predatory element where people could, lose their skins to people that want to take advantage of younger players that are maybe a little less aware of some of the stuff that goes on with these items, right? The flip side of it, though, is like it's still happening, right? So there's no real perfect solution, but it's like, okay, there's still bots that are buying items, sniping stuff from people that are trying to trade on the marketplace. Like like people want to trade skins. So they're going to try to find a way to do it. Right now, they can't get scammed because there's no way for me to send my skins to another account or another player. So I try to do it via the marketplace, and then I get scammed there anyway because someone has a bot that's literally buying my skin from me. So it's like you haven't effectively solved the problem. So I think we're kind of at the point now where it's like, dude, all these third-party websites would go away. At least the ones where you can buy and sell gold or accounts or skins. Trading would just be the new way to do that. You'd eliminate the market, like bot sniping problem, because the only reason they're trying to do that is to catch people that are selling skins for like 0.03 and doing it to themselves. They know the system that people are using to trade skins right now, and they're trying to take advantage of that. So peer-to-peer trading, in my opinion, needs to be a thing. I know Axelbolt has said that they didn't really want to do this. Maybe they're slowly changing their tune on it a little bit. I have as well, because it's at the point now where it's like the scamming's still happening. So, you might as well just introduce it at this point. Does it create a lot of other issues? Does it open Pandora's box? Yes, but we're at the point now where at this stage in the game, I think the pros outweigh the cons. So that's that. Let's talk about gameplay. People are just generally bored of the game and some of the maps, some of the mechanics, stuff like that. At the end of the day, like Counter-Strike has it existed for so long because the core gameplay mechanics didn't change. And Standoff 2 obviously follows a similar formula. They don't have to do some game-breaking new thing. The limited time modes are cool, but generally speaking, people just want a better gameplay experience. Maybe more content-based updates instead of just pumping new skins and battle passes out. So I think gameplay is a huge thing. They need to sort of solve this, whether there's like a, what's it called? And you've got like workshop maps or stuff like that. Like allow players to create new things, allow players to build on top of the game or add new features or add new stuff. Maybe expand the features that are available in custom matches. It's also weird that, you have the easy example right now in the Dia de Muertos update, we have like the hunt game mode. Why can't we play the hunt in custom games, right? And change the rules a little bit, stuff like that. So I think more development and more freedom in custom games could really help with the player base and people just being able to create things that they think are fun and not necessarily be forced to play the same loop over and over of like defuse or competitive, which is completely cooked depending on what rank you're at. So with that, we can talk about hacking, I guess. I touched on it briefly in the beginning where it's like, I understand this is a big issue, not just for Standoff 2, but for most online games in general. Is there a good way to fix it? Not sure, but at least putting whatever measures that can be done in place to stop it, because it really does ruin the experience for most people. And the fact that hacks are incredibly cheap, incredibly easy to get, it's like, dude, that just can't exist, man. Like if you want your game to feel good, if you want people to stick around long term, then you need to do something about the hacking problem. And doing massive bans and allowing people to report it isn't enough. There's a lot of players that, like, imagine your experience as a new player in 2025 or 2026. If you join the game and play competitive in your first match as a hacker, like you're done, bro. You're leaving the game and probably not coming back. So fixing that is super important. One thing they talked about in the update kind of overview was events or more features for clans. I think this is super important. This also kind of scratches the itch of the gameplay, like lack of content and stuff like that. Clans right now are kind of useless. I have a clan, people are in it. Everyone's always complaining, why don't we do clan battles and stuff like that? It's like, dude, we have people in our clan from literally all over the world. So getting people from different time zones and all that stuff is crazy. So there's not a lot of real benefit unless you have like a very small clan that kind of functions as like a competitive or esports team that can run these kind of things, and it's a little more organized. But for general like content creators or just people that want to have a clan with their friends, there's not a lot of value or function for the clan feature. So if they have like events or certain things that I could create as a clan owner and like have a sponsor, like here's 100 gold event that we're doing, like whoever has the most kills by the end of the day or whatever, like random stuff inside of clans or internal events within the clan. So like 2v2 clan tournament, something like that, right? There's a lot of different directions you could go with that. I think it's important. The clan feature is like kind of useless if you ask me at this point in time. Hacking, we touched about. Esports, we can get into esports. Obviously, the major just happened. I watched it. The viewership wasn't bad, at least the times that I was watching it. I think like towards the semifinals or the finals, the viewership on Twitch peaked at like 10K on the mainstream. I don't know about, they have like the Standoff to Russian hub or whatever for esports as well. So maybe like 10 to 15K, probably sub 20 overall, which is not bad for a mobile game tournament. Like I didn't expect it to even be that much. And if you look at the arena where they were playing, like I don't think it was sold out, but there was a good amount of people there, right? And a lot of it is like young Russian kids. But, you know, generally speaking, does esports have its place? Absolutely. If you follow the esports world and you look at it from a business perspective, there's a lot of orgs, there's a lot of big names in esports that are like struggling to turn a profit. How they would manage to do that in the mobile gaming world especially is interesting to me, and I struggle to see where the money is in it. Like esports in general, these tournaments and stuff like that, like the prize pool and all of that, unless it's solely sponsored by the game itself, like the company that owns the game, that makes money from the game, puts the money into these tournaments, it's really, really hard because, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff, at least outside of Standoff 2, I can't speak on the Standoff 2 esports scene. It's pretty small from what I understand. There's a couple big tournament organizers, and that's really it. But the esports scene in general is propped up by advertiser dollars, and like gambling sponsorships make up the majority of that, especially like if you look at the Counter-Strike scene and stuff like that, right? So esports is propped up by sports betting, gambling, and if you can find some advertisers that want to spend to sponsor tournaments and stuff like that. But I mean, conversion for advertisers is not the best on esports. I can't imagine how it would be for an esport mobile game at that. So I think it's really cool that they want to try to push that. We'll see how it goes. I think that in order for esports to really be popular, there needs to be a big player base, a big viewer base. And that kind of brings us to our last bullet point here, which is onboarding new players. This right here is the biggest issue out of all of them, right? Because if new players aren't joining the game, it will eventually die. And this is where there's a fork in the road of, does Standoff 2 spend the money to make the game better, develop the game, create this new remastered version where it's like, okay, now we have a much better gameplay experience. The next thing that we need to solve is getting new players to play the game. If you search mobile shooter or like, you know, mobile FPS on the App Store, I don't know about Google Play. I have an iPhone, so I don't really know. But on iPhone, like you kind of have to scroll a little bit. You kind of have to dig a little bit to get to Standoff. So it doesn't really show up in like the top charts. PUBG, COD Mobile, Free Fire, all of these other games get shown in the like top charts on the App Store and get a lot of exposure and promotion from that. Standoff 2, I've never seen it in any of those big like digests or sort of leaderboards or the stuff that the App Store is promoting and pushing to new players. So not sure what they'd have to do to get onto that. Maybe it's, you know, some of the gambling mechanics. Maybe it's because it's a Russian game. I don't know. But Standoff 2 should do something to really double down and focus on bringing new players to the game because the player base is dying. Slowly but surely it is dying. I've seen a lot of players, a lot of content creators come and go, leave the game after being here for 2-3 years at this point. And at the end of the day, if you don't have players playing your game consistently, then you don't have a game at all. And also, people aren't buying the skins, and it's like, okay, now the whole thing crumbles without onboarding new players or customers, right? If you're thinking about this as a business, if you look at Meta, if you go to the Standoff 2 Facebook account, they're not running any ads. You can also double check this if you go to the Meta ads library and just search Standoff 2. There's no ads there. Even if you remove their main Facebook profile and just search for ads that are related to Standoff 2, there aren't any that are running. This is just one platform, but I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen ads for other games, Clash of Clans, King Shot, all like a lot of the crappy mobile games. But I guarantee you that Standoff 2 is making a lot more money than some of those games that you see ads for on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the things, right? I've never seen Standoff 2 run ads, which shows me that they like are basically reliant on organic growth of their game, which, I don't know what they're investing their marketing or advertising dollars in, if any, but that's the surefire way to get new people onto the platform, right? So I'm not sure if they have a budget for that, not sure if they have taken any real steps as far as spending money to acquire new players, or what they've done to, or if they even track that stuff. The biggest thing that I was trying to find or dig into was the decline in active players. There's like a couple articles on websites that I could find, but they weren't concrete enough proof of this, so I kind of left it out of here. But basically, some advertising partner told or released some player base numbers, and it was earlier in 2025, and it was like a couple million, and it's just been declining since then. So I don't have the data. I don't have the hard numbers. I don't have access to the reporting, or I don't know for sure if they're running ads. If they had a marketing or advertising partner that released some of those numbers and data, then maybe they're doing some form of advertising. But I certainly would have seen if they were doing YouTube or Instagram or, Meta ads or anything like that, because I 100% would have been shown one of them, and I see ads for other games all the time. So that's something that I think it's like, dude, take some of this money that you're just, honestly, you're printing fucking money with battle passes and cases. I understand that building out the infrastructure of new servers, building a whole new game, keeping people on salary and like developers, graphic designers, all this stuff like is expensive. But dude, if you don't bring new players to the game, you're going to be bled dry eventually. So there needs to be a huge effort to bring new players into the game. And the only thing that was even close to a display of them making an effort to do this was the Commander Pass, where it's like you refer people to download the game via your link and you get some skins exclusive from that. Most of the people that I know that have completed the Commander Pass just made alt accounts for themselves. That's what I did. I have a small following on YouTube here, so it's like some of my subscribers and people from that video that I made about how to complete the Commander Pass have used my Commander link or whatever. But generally speaking, the people that have that have just created alt accounts for themselves, so I don't think it was crazy effective, I guess on that, broadening and onboarding new players, like, dude, this game is huge in Russia, so maybe they're like a little blind to the fact that like the North American scene is struggling, like the players are just, it's not there. They've added some new servers, which is good. The Dallas got added. There's also like East Russia, so they've tried to like build out some things to make it a little more accessible for players in different regions. But at the end of the day, they gotta put their money where their mouth is. Also, I don't want to get crazy into the sponsorships and partnering with creators and stuff like that. Does Standoff 2 have a content creator like support plan? You can get your like in-game codes, stuff like that? Yes, it exists. I don't know how hard they push it. I don't know if they've made any huge attempts to get more people involved in that program. From what I understand, really, it's mostly the Russian creators that have tens of thousands of followers that are involved in that. Some of the Brazilian or like Portuguese guys as well. But not sure what they're doing or what their plan is for just bringing new people into the game, because that's the lifeblood of this whole thing, right? Is more players. And I think that would generally make the experience a lot better too. Like, more people playing the game makes the experience better for everyone involved. And Axel makes more money because more people are here playing, buying skins, spending time on the game, watching the esports events. Like all the things that they're trying to do, all the things that they want to do would be more effective with more players. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. That's my little rant on the future of Standoff 2. I mean, the game, in my experience, this is objective. This is not me thinking this. This is what I have seen over the past couple of years of playing this game. Like, bro, it is slowly dying, right? It is not as active, it's not as poppin' as it used to be. I still have some faith. We'll see what happens. I think that this remastered update really is like the final thing. Like, this is their last chance to get it right, dude. And if they don't, then the game will just kind of dwindle to zero play. Like, it'll just fade into the abyss. It'll probably be popular in Russia for a long time, but as far as a global player base, as far as it being like a big thing, like there is demand for a mobile version of Counter-Strike, and we have it here. And I think they recognize the opportunity that they're sitting on. I think they want to do a lot of these things, but it's just a matter of maybe putting some effort and spending some money and just making it happen. You know what I mean? So yeah. And honestly, like, I'm not making this to be overly critical, but I know that there's myself, people that play this game a lot, content creators, like there's a lot of people that feel this way, man. Like the average player base is pretty hardcore, dude. Like there's a cult following for this game. There's some people that really, really enjoy this game, take it seriously, have thousands of hours, thousands of dollars spent on it. Like there's people that really give a fuck. There's people that really care about this game, and it sucks to just see it like slowly die, right? So coming from someone that enjoys the game a lot, that's played it a lot, that's spent money and, you know, enjoyed it to a point where I've even taken time out of my life to live stream and create content on it, to try to create something that didn't really exist, which was like English speaking content for this game. But yeah, that's my 2 cents, bro. That's my opinion. Objectively, I think there's just like, they need to get their shit right, bro. They need to start making some moves because people are kind of fed up and bored, and it's not going to make money at the end of the day if you want to strictly just make it about that. So yeah, let me know what your guys' 2 cents are. Let me know what your opinions are in the comments. What does Standoff 2 need to do to make this like the #1 mobile game? Because I think it has that potential. I mean, if you just look at the Counter-Strike fan base and then the amount of people that play games on mobile, like, dude, there's a huge opportunity. I just don't know if they're making the right steps to capitalize on it. Or if they're just like, hey, man, we've got this cash cow of a mobile game, just keep raking it in. Like, we'll see, dude. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. There'll be more Standoff 2 content on the screen you can check out right now. Stay blessed. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right.